I've been making a lot of sweets lately, so I thought it was time for something a little bit more savory. I'm gonna be making this recipe for can chicken from this book, Timeless Recipes with Minute Rice. I will talk a little bit more about this book later. Can chicken is basically a stovetop casserole. Everything is shelf stable, hence the name Can chicken. If I could draw or animate, I would probably put a chicken doing the can in here right now. I can't do either of those things, so I apologize for putting that image in your head and not following through on it. You know, you've got your good old cream soups, you've got your minute rice, you've got your chicken. This is a great one to have in your back pocket if you need like an emergency meal or you can't get to the store right away. I have to find the recipe, hold on. So right there's can chicken. Now this recipe does start with cream soup. I know it's not everyone's favorite, but if you are afraid of preservatives, this is not the video for you. It has cream of chicken and cream of celery soup, and we all know how I feel about celery. In my mind, cream soup is interchangeable. I'm going with cream of chicken and good old cream of mushroom. This is very simple. Combine all ingredients except for the noodles. All ingredients means 1 can cream of chicken. Get this out of here. I feel like a spatula is your very best friend when trying to get cream soup out of a can. 1 can cream of mushroom, cream of celery if you're following the recipe exactly. 1 1/3 cups of water. Apparently that's 1 soup can of water. I measured it anyway. I'm gonna just give that a little whisk to combine it. Okay, I got a little enthusiastic. 1 12.5 ounce can of chicken. You could probably use just regular shredded chicken for this if you have some on hand, but because this is can casserole, I'm going for the canned chicken. And then finally, the reason we are here, 1 1/3 cups of minute rice, which is something I always have in my pantry. It's just nice to have on hand in case you need like a little bit of a last minute rice dish. Stir that up to combine. It's looking beige. So now I am to bring this to a boil and try to break up that chicken just a little bit. Ooh, we're boiling. And now that I brought this to a boil, I'm supposed to cover and let it simmer for 7 minutes. My recipe today comes from Timeless Recipes with Minute Rice. This book was published in 1965. There's something so practical and so serious about it compared to a lot of the other books that I have in my collection from the early to mid 60s. So much so, in fact, that I kind of question whether I was reading the date correctly. Is this actually from 1965? And it sure is. It's tiny. I don't even know if the camera will pick it up. Right there, 1965. I mean, you've seen some of the other books in my collection. It's kooky in there. We got some fun photos. We got like crazy lettering styles. We got crazy recipes. Minute Rice has a job to do in this book. They're like, I'm here to feed your family and get out. But I will say, when you open it, they do have a little bit of fun with the table of contents. I mean, look at those numbers. Pretty groovy. We've got soups, entrees, vegetables and stuffings, salads and breads, desserts and breakfast. I like that they put dessert and breakfast together. There's a lot of photographs of food, but we also have some delightful drawings, and you would have seen probably if I showed the recipe for can chicken, you know, some of the little like line drawings with just like yellow, black and white. And that theme, that color theme is like just throughout the entire book. That seems to be somewhat of like a trend in some of my books where it's just very simple, kind of whimsical line drawings with very few colors in them. Yeah, here's a little bit more of a close-up of those chickens from the can chicken recipe. Some of my favorite recipes that I wanted to show off. Goodbye turkey casserole. So I'm assuming, without having really read through this particular recipe, that this is a way to use up your leftover turkey. An excellent way to revive interest in leftover turkey or chicken, so I was right. And also an easy to make economical dish to serve a crowd. They include the recipe for 6 servings and 24 servings. That's a lot of turkey that you have left over if you're serving 24 people. Oh, they have this really cool chart as well. So easy rice soups, and it's like an entire chart of different soups that you can make with minute rice and like canned soup. It reminds me of some of the Campbell cookbooks that I have where they kind of take a couple different soups and combine them and make it a little bit more special, a little bit more substantial. I knew I would find this recipe in here. Rice meatballs, which is porcupine meatballs. One of my very early videos, I almost feel like I should revisit it. Those were super good. And this is a great way to like stretch your ground beef or ground turkey, stuffed peppers, Classic rice dish. A lot of like very practical dishes to feed your family, feed a crowd. The entree section in this is very large. What is that? I don't know what that is. We're gonna find out. That is cottage cheese rice bake. Huh. So it looks like you like mix stuff up and then cut it into squares? Maybe, is it kind of like a quiche? There's eggs in it. That's so interesting. I feel like I might need to try that. Risotto, very fancy, very fancy. There was like one thing in here that I was very puzzled by. Let me see if I can find it. Yes, okay, here it is. This is sushi squares. Keep in mind that this is 1965. I don't believe that sushi was like very popular in the United States at that time. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe in some places where they had a lot of fresh fish and seafood, it was very accessible. But when you read through this recipe, like you can see that this is not the sushi that you would expect. This recipe contains water, prepared horseradish, butter, salt and pepper, minute rice, sour cream, finely chopped anchovies, and finely chopped ripe olives. Now, I have never quite had sushi like that. Let me tell you, maybe again, like, please, I'm not trying to be like a jerk about this. I am just genuinely curious about this recipe. It doesn't sound like any sushi that I have ever had in my life. It sounds like at the time that it would be like very new and very different. You would be invited to a dinner party where the host or hostess like to experiment, like they would be the ones to make this and be like, we're eating sushi. Please give me your thoughts on this. Please, if you have had this, like I wanna know. So you make your rice in that mixture of like water, salt and pepper, butter, horseradish. You stir in the sour cream, then you add your anchovies and olives, and then you just like pat it in a dish and you like cut it into squares. Maybe this is a future video, folks. I don't know. But anyway, you know, I enjoyed this book. There's a whole chapter about like rice desserts. Look at those beautiful 1960s photographs. Lots of like rice puddings, glorified rice. Of course, glorified rice is in here. Breakfast rice. Ooh, that sounds good. Danish rice. We've got French rice cake. For such a little book, this really does pack a pretty big punch and a pretty big variety of dishes. And a lot of dishes that I would actually try and eat. Let's be honest, some of the books that I have, they don't have the most appetizing cuisine in them sometimes. But really this is a very useful little volume, I would say. 7 minutes later. Something I will definitely warn you about with this dish, if you plan to make it, you're gonna have to stir this. This is not something that you can just like simmer and walk away from. The rice is gonna stick to the bottom of that pan unless you give it a couple of good stirs and kind of scrape the bottom. Take a little taste test, dish a little up. Okay, I am just gonna try a little bit. But first, you're supposed to do a special garnish of chow mein noodles. Oh yes. That's the height of fanciness. That's kind of what we're looking like here. It's still pretty hot. It's pretty tasty, really. If you like a casserole, this is very warm, this is very comforting. Couple of things. I would probably use like a chicken broth or chicken bouillon in place of just plain water with this. I think it could just like bump up the flavor a little bit. I think I would throw some veggies in here if I had them. And I wasn't strictly kind of like sticking to that shelf-stable thing. I think I'm gonna throw some frozen peas in this because I think you can kind of like customize this and add some additional ingredients if you have them. The alternative to topping it with chow mein noodles was like French fried onions, which I don't know if I have any of those, but I think that would actually complement this a little bit more. But overall, I think it's pretty delicious. It's pretty affordable. You don't have to use Campbell's canned soups like I did. You can go store brand and it would be just fine. I also think this could be a really good meal option to take camping. Not like backpacking, kind of like hiking trail camping where you need things to be lightweight, but like having a camper, setting up a tent on a campsite with a camp stove kind of thing, because everything is shelf stable. You've got 2 cans of soup, 1 can of chicken, and some minute rice. So I think that would be like a really simple thing to throw together. It makes 4 servings, 4 pretty generous servings actually. You know, add a little side of veggies or something. This was a really quick meal. This was a pretty inexpensive meal, and I think it's a great recipe to sort of keep in the back of your mind if you need something fast and you can't get to the grocery store. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I love making videos about food, vintage cookbooks, and retro recipes, so if you have someone in your life who loves those things, please share this video with them. It really does help my channel grow by reaching a larger audience. Thanks again, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.